welcome to Ace's interview. I'm Leo, an empowerment coach and speaker, and today I'm joined by Jessica Blinkhorn, interdisciplinary artist, social rights activist, and educator from Atlanta, GA. Jessica advocate for disabled and LGBTQ communities, promoting equality, equity, and inclusion by intelligence and performance with a focus on personal autonomy and shifting social narratives. Jessica, thank you for joining me. So I was reading about your performances. They're very impactful. So when you perform in public, what kind of reaction do you receive?
Well, first of all, Leo, thank you for having me. I didn't know that you were in the UK. My friend Aiden set us up, and I should have, seen that. I knew you weren't located in the States, so I appreciate you making time in your schedule to interview me. To answer your question, when I perform in public, what kind of reactions do I receive? Well, it really depends on the performance because every performance is different. I don't ever repeat a performance. And even if it is a performance that does repeat, there's always these little individual characters that pop out throughout the performance. Being a disabled performance artist and also being 200 pounds and heavily tattooed, I do get a lot of stares in everyday life. I mean, as you know, just being part of the disabled community, we are embraced by the gaze of the spectacle. We are constantly looked at. So it's just natural that I would gravitate towards something that embellishes that aspect of my life. So a lot of performances I do have to do with body as well as community and how people receive the form. I like to think of my performances as acknowledgement or acceptance through acknowledgement and education through experience and exposure. So I like to put myself out in the forefront and allow people to interact with my body on a personal level. Now, that can sometimes be problematic. I've had issues where we've had to pull someone out of the performance space. I've had issues where I've been sat there and made fun of by a group of school children. And I just kind of delved into that and made it even more awkward by making like funny faces and like doing weird things in front of them. So you kind of learn to kind of go with what the crowd feels at times and kind of be receptive of what is beneficial to the performance and ignore what is not beneficial to the performance. So I get a lot. It's really a mixed bag. I will say that for the most part, when I do perform, there are people that usually come up to me after the performance and say, wow, I had no idea that's what you go through, or wow, thank you so much for sharing that, or wow, I can't believe you just put yourself in that situation where you're scared. And the answer to that question is like, life is scary in general. And when you're a disabled person who has to constantly spend every moment of your day fighting, fear is not always an option that you get to gravitate toward.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think it's so important that you're showing people, what it really like, your lived experiences and other people with disabilities, what they had to go through. Because a lot of people who do not have disabilities don't always understand how hard it can be to live everyday life.
Well, unfortunately, we have society to blame for that perspective in a way, because there has been this illusion that the disabled life is one of seclusion. So when you are out and you are present and you are accounted for and you are stepping up and speaking out for a community that is largely underrepresented and seen in public, you know, you naturally have to be an advocate because you know that there's a whole other side of the community that does not have the opportunity that you have with your disability. There are some people who are bed bound, like, and I hate to say bed bound, but that's the truth. They have no other option but to be in their bed on breathing apparatuses, watching from the outside. And, you know, their story is just as valid as the people who are out there living life with a disability. So I like to always kind of represent all sides of disability, as well as the intersectionality of disability. So a lot of my work also does talk about body issues, you know, the face of homosexual discrimination in the South, any sort of discrimination living in the South. You know, you really have to be representative. And I'm one of those people that I no longer ascribe to just like, this is what I have to do in my community and only my community, because that is so narrow-minded. If there's ever going to be any sort of real change or any sort of beneficial action that actually will create great change, it's going to have to start with conversations within all communities and finding those points of intersectionality and representation that can speak for not just one community, but all communities. We've been sold a lie that it's us versus us, when it's us versus them. It's us versus the larger demographic who own and control. And we have to take that back.
I agree. My next question to you is, what inspires you?
What inspires me? Well, I don't like to use the word inspiration because there's a lot attached to the word inspiration in the disabled community. We both know that. Because there's nothing inspiring about going out and living your life in a wheelchair, on crutches, or with one leg or with no legs, or with a speech impediment or anything like that. You're just living your life, man. You just want to live your life. But instead, what motivates me is, you know, I come from a family where I wasn't the only person with a disability. My older sister had spinal muscular atrophy type 2 as well, and my younger brother did as well. And, you know, my sister and my brother have both since passed. So I've always been I've always been like the black sheep of the family, the artsy one, the one that was always kind of loud, middle child syndrome, trying to speak out and show my face anytime I can, total ham, charismatic. But growing up, you know, my mom was the advocate starting off. My mom and my dad were the ones fighting in the front lines for us to be included and for there to be equality, you know. That was motivating me to just, you know, want to be part of things, because my mom was fighting so hard for me to be part of those things. But as you age, you begin to kind of fall into the background where you're like, I don't want to be the disabled girl. So I'm going to do everything I can to not be the disabled girl, even though I have a 300 to 400 pound object attached to my ass at any given point. There's no running from disability. It just simply is. It wasn't until you know, with my sister and brother, the loss of my sister and brother, that motivated me more to continue living and thriving and trying to do everything I could. But, you know, I kind of fell back into habits and the tedium of life and the incessant need to try to provide for myself in a financial climate where individuals with disability face hiring discrimination at all corners, whether people acknowledge that or not. So, you know, when the pandemic happened and the entire world locked down, you know, it took me time. A lot of things happened, and that was I heard stories from our community coming through social media of people that were being put on life support, and then people that were taken off because doctors literally like, why aren't we saving this person? They're of no value. This life is of no value. So hearing those stories and then listening to the stories of my friends who were going back into the ailing arms of aging and disabled parents themselves, and just, you know, how everybody that had disabilities that hadn't disclosed about their disabilities are now being forced to disclose that they were disabled, losing their jobs because of that, you know. I no longer wanted to just kind of create pretty pictures for people to buy and for me to survive. I wanted to make a difference. And making a difference means you have to put yourself out there and you have to face probably more loss than you do wins. But the greater goal is that you have more people that help you push for those wins. So my motivation would be definitely my family, my community, and the people that support my community.
I think the word inspiration is a loaded word, and yeah, I was speaking to someone the other day who said, like you, well, the word motivation, and I get that, and I've also spoken to other people, other disabled people who kind of want to like take back that power of inspiring, because very often the word inspiring is used kind of in a patronizing way, because it used with when people talk about what we do in our everyday life, they say, oh, you're so inspiring. And it's like, well, not really. I live in my life. But yeah, that makes a lot of sense.
It's exhausting because you kind of almost feel like any sort of failure can never be your failure. You know what I mean? Every sort of pain can never be your pain. It's ultimately shared with a myriad of people that find you inspiring. And then when you have to live up to that word, which is such a grandiose word, and then you feel like you have failed, you have therefore failed their inspiration. So I don't ascribe to the word inspiring so much. I will say, if I were to say there are artists that I'm inspired by, that my work is inspired by, I can answer that. And that would be, well, first of all, Bob Flanagan, who most people know as the super masochist. He was the oldest living male with cystic fibrosis. He died in his late 40s in the early 2000s. There's a documentary named after him called Sick, and they attribute his ability to stay alive as long as he did with cystic fibrosis to the fact that he engaged in a BDSM lifestyle with his partner Cherie Rose, who is still performing today. And so his idea of taking his pain that he had no control over, that was in large part due to his disability, and redirecting it through chosen pain, engaging in the BDSM lifestyle with his partner and turning that into performance definitely inspires my work. And also going from Bob Flanagan, Martin O'Brien, who actually is a UK artist. I don't know if you know Martin O'Brien. I'm truly inspired by Martin O'Brien's work. Martin actually has done collaborations with Cherie Rose. Catherine Arniello, I don't know if you remember, I don't know if you know Catherine Arniello. Catherine Arniello died about 2.5 years ago. She had a SMA, like I do, and she was a performance artist where she really engaged with the public, using her disability, kind of taking the idea of the seemingly empathetic eye as one that was patronizing rather than actually empathetic, and kind of turning it on its head. She had a lot of politically driven formats to her work as well. I find that really inspiring. The artist Hannah Wilkie, a 1970s performance artist, big in the feminist movement, who was really beautiful, but actually was diagnosed with non-Hodgkin's lymphoma and actually died. And she documented her body's decline through her intravenous series, where she actually just would take images of herself as her body just rapidly declined from the chemo and the cancer. Nomi Lam is a current queer performance artist who also does sound art. They're really great. I'd say as far as visual arts, Riva Lair is another disabled artist. Riva's really big, just had a published book called Gothenburg. I'm really inspired by Alice Wong, the writings of Alice Wong, the essays of Alice Wong. Have you read Alice Wong's new essay that's in it's in Teen Vogue? It's really great. It talks about her living through crowdsourcing for medical needs after she survived COVID, or I think it was COVID. So it's like there's a lot of people in the creative field that inspire my work and that I want to actually that I kind of hold as an icon of where I want my work to be. Also, Carlos Martial is a queer Black man who lives in New York, and he's a beautiful performance artist. There's just so many performance artists. I could go on for days. I'll just shut up now.
Well, I must have a look at some of them. That sound really incredible artists. I would definitely look at some of them up. So my last question is, what difference would you like to see or make in the world?
I want to change the world, and I think we all should want to change the world. I don't think that that's something that anyone in this world would sit there and not think at some point in their life, but I really do want to make a change in this world. I want to be a voice of the repressed Southern sitter, you know what I mean? Like I say sitter very tongue-in-cheeky because I constantly sit, but I want to be a voice for the silent that live in the South and fight for what they need, and live in the world and fight for what they need. Disability is not a bad word. We've just been made to feel that it's a bad word when, and disability is something that we will never overcome. It is simply who we are. But what we can do is we can create change and make society embrace disability and realize the biggest disability that we face as a disabled community is the lack of actual empathy and movement by those outside of the disabled community. It takes more than one person. Even if you're out in the wilderness, you still need animals to survive. You need water to survive. It's all together, and I want to be a person that embraces everybody from all communities and brings them in to my perspective, educates them while also receiving an education by the people who I've brought into my community, creating conversations that are actually meant to create change. That's what my newest project, SPANKBOX, does. I don't know if you read up on SPANKBOX, but SPANKBOX is a photographic installation that depicts individuals with varying disabilities from all communities in sexualized and sometimes hypersexualized poses and situations. What we do in SPANKBOX is we provide a safe space for the for now non-disabled community, because we all face disability at one point in our life, whether through age or accident, it comes, but we provide a safe space for them to look at the disabled body, investigate it, and ask questions without the projected societal shame. But the trade-off is they have to engage with one of our spankers, which are those people depicted inside of SPANKBOX. And they engage by answering one of those questions that are in the posters of each person that's a participant. The people that participate in SPANKBOX represent the disabled community, but also the intersectionality of the disabled community and just how wide and varied it is. They get to create their own image. They send in their color palette. They send in questions, and we take all of that information and we create a 1970s peep show porn style poster, which mimics the taboo nature of sex in general. And then every person inside of SPANKBOX gets to decide their own value. So their poster could be $20 or it could be $2,500. It's really up to the spanker. If we sell that poster, we retain only 10%, and that's only for reframe and reprinting costs. And then once we sell the poster, they get 90% of the proceeds. And we continue to sell their poster. If we have one that sells a lot, they will get money. It's just I want to be able to provide a way for an underrepresented community to be represented, and for an underemployed community to receive a little bit of some sort of surprise income, because we all need money to survive, even the disabled, especially the disabled, because every day our benefits are cut. If our food stamps go up, our benefits get cut. It's just it's forced poverty. And some could even argue forced prostitution, because now a lot of individuals with disabilities turn to OnlyFans, and they sell, their bodies online, which I'm all for. Trust me, I do. If I could sell it, I would. But it's just unfair. It's unfair, and we are constantly having to fight for our survival in a society that claims that they care, but they lack the showing of those works.
definitely a gap between the care people say they have and the actual reality of what disabled people have to face. And yeah, I definitely recommend everyone watching this on interview to go and check out SPANKBOX, and I will include a link to that at the end of this interview. So thank you so much, Jessica, for joining me. And where and how can people connect with you?
People can get in touch with me by way of the Instagram. I have 2 Instagrams that I'm on. I'm also on TikTok. So my Instagram, my personal Instagram is the same as my TikTok, and that is Willie_an_artist, Willie WHEELIE_AN_artist, as in I'm Willie an artist, wheelchair, really, Willie, get it? And then if people want to look at the SPANKBOX project, that is another way to get in touch with me as well. On Instagram, it's spankbox.atl. Do not Google spankbox.com, because apparently it's a band and a porn site. So spankbox.atl on Instagram is the best way to get in touch with me if you're interested in participating. We also are currently selling merchandise like bracelets and stickers. Yeah, it's like we have our first billboard going up on February 20th, and it features a local Atlanta artist, Megan Moshholder, who in 2018 was on their way home from work, got into a car accident. Their car ignited on 75, which is a big highway in Georgia, and they were burned over 67% of their body. They actually wound up opting to be an amputee because the healing process was not happening for the leg. And a year and a half later, they were off life support, physical therapy, and they were back on ladders building huge light installations. But Megan is a really beautiful subject for this project because it shows just how quickly it can all change. In one moment, you could be just another artist, just another banker, just another model, just another actor or actress, and you could get an accent, and now you're just a fucking gimp.
That's right. Yeah. Okay. Well, I share all your social media links and the website with this interview. So thank you, everybody who watched this. Check out all the conversations. Thank you to Jessica, and find out more about education and speaking at diversitytraining.com, and Exit Interview will be back soon with another powerful conversation. Bye for now.
Thank you so much for having me. I really appreciate the opportunity to speak on your podcast, and I look forward to watching the interview and sharing it with my friends, family, colleagues, and followers.